What is interesting when we have to think about the origins of the Western Middle Ages is that in particular that the Western Middle Ages develop and saw a specific type of division between the temporal power and the spiritual power. This is the crucial point because in this sense, if there is a specific type of division between these two powers because there was a fallen of the Western Roman Empire, in this sense, we know also that because the fallen of the Roman Empire, there were on the one hand the structure of the different type of kingdoms or the barbarian kingdoms, or in any case different type of political powers that they develop the type of law and the type of political point of view. But on the other hand, there was also the idea of a pope that maintained the spiritual power. This type of division in the Western society of the Western world maintain a specific type of debate that maintained itself during the centuries, founded what is the Middle Ages. On the contrary, the idea of the East Roman Empire, or in any case, when we can call the Byzantine Empire, is different because, in this sense, for example, the idea of the Byzantine Empire, so in this sense, the idea that the spiritual power, the temporal power, are in the same person. In this sense, for example, the emperor that maintained its type of tradition in relation with, on the one hand, the idea of the costume of Rome. In fact, for example, after the fallen of the Western Roman Empire, we know that in this sense, in the East Roman Empire, the idea of tradition with Rome, it was maintained. But at the same time, we know also that the idea of connection between what was the ancient empire and what is the new type of emperor, it is different because in this sense the idea of Christianity was developed also during in the East Roman Empire, but because the emperor did this type of connection between the two powers, it was absolutely necessary. And in this sense, it is not a case that the East Roman Empire developed a specific type of idea in relation with its type of connection with God. In fact, if the ancient Roman emperors consider themselves a sort of gods, and this is interesting because if ancient Greeks, for example, develop a specific type of division between the humans and the goddesses and gods, and also the first type of the Roman Empire consider itself as different between humans and gods, where there is a specific type of senate, there are consuls, there is the idea of there are the ideas of there are the legionaries that follow the ideas and the orders of a senate. There is a jurisprudential law that and right that it is built from the jurist, and therefore, according to the ancient Roman Republic, there is a connection between jurists, between law, between senate, between consuls, between legionaries, between consuls honorum, or in other words, competition to arrive to specific type of idea of places in relation with the administration, and in this sense the possibility of a man to arrive to important to have an important jobs. We know that differently by with the idea of Roman Empire, Western Roman Empire, there was a specific type of uh, new type of idea differently by the first by the past time. In fact, in this sense, the emperor became to be considered a sort of god, as in the Hellenistic idea of Alexander the Great. In fact, this is another type of interesting argument. Alexander the Great became a sort of god in front of the Greeks. In fact, Alexander the Great, in the sense, not the Greeks considered themselves in relation with the gods, but when Alexander the Great took his type of hegemony, he wanted to that the others consider himself a god. And this type of the hegemony of Macedon developed a specific type of new structure in Greece because the Greeks considered themselves as only humans, and the destiny it was a different type of way that produced something in the life of Greeks, but Greeks didn't consider themselves as gods. They were limited in relation with destiny. When arrived Alexander the Great, this type of king explained that he wanted to be considered a god, and in this sense, he produced a sort of connection between his type of idea of body and human soul with the gods. And the idea of Hellenistic idea of Alexander the Great arrived in the Roman Empire, in particular with the idea of Roman emperor, of the ancient Roman emperor after the Roman Republic. And in this sense, if the classical way of the ancient Greeks, but also the ancient Romans, classically the Republic of Rome, and the Greeks, the ancient Greeks of the 5th and the 4th century BC, the 6th century BC, it was that idea that men and gods are in connection but are different, because gods can impact in the human life, but human life is different by gods. In the idea of Roman idea, in the Romans, with the ancient Romans and with the Roman Empire, it's not only that the destiny impacted on the human life, but the emperor, it is a sort of god, and it is divinized as god. And therefore, the idea of Hellenistic society, Hellenistic idea of Alexander the Great arrived into the Roman Empire. But with Constantine in the 4th century AD, after, in the sense, the Diocletian, the Emperor Diocletian, with the Emperor Diocletian, there was the Christians were persecuted by the emperor, by the Romans, by the pagans. On the contrary, after Diocletian, there were the different type of civil wars between his successors. But after this type of civil wars, Constantine founded Constantinople, maintained his type of power, and developed an unifying of Roman Empire. And in this sense, with Constantine, there was officially the idea of Christian religion of the Roman Empire. And therefore, if there is a Christian religion, therefore there is a God, the emperor cannot be a god if there is a one type of God that is unified in the Father, in the Son, and in the Holy Spirit. Therefore, it is important that there is a specific type of change, the idea of changed. And the idea changed because, in this sense, the emperor, it is now justified by God. It is no more God, but is justified by God as a sort of monarch of the modern age. If, for example, the ancient pharaoh of Egypt, it was a sort of god, it was the incarnation of God, and there were different type of criticized by ancient Greeks and the Roman republics in front of this type of incarnation, because the Roman republics consider important the law in relation with the administration, and the Greeks consider important politics in relation with administration, and a division between gods, a sort of secularization, division of gods and humans' life. Gods are present in life, but humans are different with life from the idea of life, from the idea of God, sorry. With the idea of Roman Empire, the emperor is divinized, but at the same time, with the idea of Christianity, the emperor now it couldn't be a god, it cannot be a god, but is justified now by God. Therefore, is a sort of the Christian God decided to justify the idea of emperor. Therefore, Constantine, in other words, is justified by gods. Or, in any case, the idea of the Roman Empire is justified by gods. This is why we have to consider that the Middle Ages it happened only when the idea of Western Roman Empire or Western Roman Emperor was defeated, or it was fallen. In fact, without this, we cannot consider the different type of debates that were discovered, were happened during the Middle Ages between temporal power and spiritual power. Because if without with the idea of emperor that is justified by God in the Western society, there is the similar there is the same situation of the East society of the Eastern Roman Empire. In fact, after the deposition of Romulus Augustus in 466 76 AD, the idea of emperor, it was defeated, it was fallen, and in this sense there was the idea of the Middle Ages in the Western society, but and therefore the idea of the Pope and the idea of kings, the idea of kingdoms, the idea of laws between different type of powers, decentralization of powers. Instead, in the East Roman Empire, for example, it was maintained that type of situation with the emperor that it was justified by God. Therefore, the emperor considered itself as a sort of monarch, and it was an absolute monarch that it was justified by God. And the two powers were connected into itself. The idea of spiritual power and the idea of temporal power were different type of emperors that decide to persecute the, for example, uh, yeah, at the beginning, in particular of the East Roman Empire, the people who didn't believe in the Orthodox Christianity. For example, Justinian, with Justinian happened a lot of persecutions. This is interesting because with the in the third in the 300 in the third century AD, Diocletian persecuted as a pagan emperor. He considered himself a god. He persecuted the Christians. Now, on the contrary, in the 6th century AD, Justinian decided to persecute the pagans, in particular, also the heretics, but in particular in this sense the pagans, in particular in Greece, because in Greece there was, in this sense, there were a lot of pagans. In particular, Justinian decided to close also the School of Athens, the Academy of Plato, that it was opened in the 4th century BC by Plato. And this is interesting. Why Justinian closed the school? Because he wanted to limit the critics against his potential politics. In fact, Justinian wanted to limit the potential critics against him, against his politics, and the Platonic idea of thought. It was that Platonic idea that wanted to connect the idea of metaphysics idea with metaphysical way with physical way. Therefore, according to Plato, there are ideas in the perfect world, and there are ideas that are the copy of the main ideas in the physical world. But the politics, in the philosophy of politics, wanted a specific type of connection between these type of ideas as a criticize against the politicians. According to Plato, in fact, in other words, politicians who didn't follow the main idea in the sensible world, the main idea of the metaphysical in the sensible world, the politicians who don't follow the ideas of a sensible world as that type of ideas that we have to reinterpret as the metaphysical idea. In this sense, that type of politicians that didn't follow this type of idea are not good politicians. Justinians probably had a specific type of uh, positions that considered, according to his power, in relation with the fact that the Platonic thought it was dangerous for his power, and therefore decided to close the School of Athens. Bye.